What's up, everybody? I had a little situation that I had come across that I wanted to talk to you guys about. And I know this is not a channel for being hateful or a documentary channel or even what everybody else has nowadays, and it's not for talking about my life. This is just simply a rant, and it has to do with the same thing that my channel does with. So I decided to bring you guys in on what I'm dealing with. Turn of events for my life. I have my own apartment now. The family's been struggling pretty hard. We were homeless for a little bit there. Didn't have anywhere to go. Didn't have anybody to turn to. But we pulled ourselves out of that situation. Now we have our own place. We have a new addition to our family. My wife had her baby. Her name is Paisley. She's doing well. The baby is doing very well. So I ended up getting a grow tent. But I had plants already, and this is what we're smoking on for the night. I don't remember what it is. I'll have to give you guys a strain name later. I'll put it in the bio when I post it. It is some sugar wax. It's pretty fire. Pretty good stuff. Anyway, I had some plants, and I had my old light that I've been using for a while now, and that light burnt out on me. So I got a new one from a guy that lives in my apartment complex. He gave it to me. I owe him $50 for it. I haven't paid for it yet, but I will. Regardless, I was setting up my tent that I had just received for free. I didn't know anybody for that. I got it given to me. And I was setting up the tent. I had a big old box fan. And the box fan I had put in my tent to give air to my plants and make them wave, because that's what you're supposed to do. Is you're supposed to make your plants wave and make them happy. I went behind my tent to do something, and the fan had fallen onto my plants. Killed them both. It was dead. They were done for. So I went to the dispensary, and I spotted the dispensary a couple of days beforehand because I was looking for wax, and I came into the dispensary, bought some wax, and I noticed their plants. This was before my plants had died. So I was like, oh, okay, I got 2 plants at home. I'm loving them. I'm loving the way they're coming out. I'll come in and buy some from y'all. See how y'all are doing. Because these guys kind of seemed like they were knowing their plants were huge. They kind of knew what they were talking about. It seemed like a good ordeal to get myself into. So I went in there and started talking to the owner. And got one of his plants after my plants had been destroyed. And he explained to me a couple of things, like he quarantines his plants and keeps them away from the other plants for a week, so that way if they have any mites or anything, it doesn't cause any problems, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let me take this. I was like, alright, it all sounds good. And this was a couple of days easy before my plants had died. So I was like, all right, all sounds good. He seems like he knows what he's talking about. Could I have been more wrong? Let me tell you guys. I killed my plants on accident and went and decided to go ahead and buy one from him. So I bought one of his and took it home. And the first thing I do every time I get a plant is defoliate and look at leaves. Doesn't matter how good the plant looks. So that's what I did. Brought it home, started defoliating. within the first 2 hours, I saw what looked like a thrip or a spider mite. Couldn't tell which one. There wasn't a whole lot of them. There was no webbing yet. Nothing. So I called him. One of his ladies that worked there answers. I tell her, hey, I got one of your plants probably about an hour or two ago, and I got it home and I started defoliating, which is taking leaves from it, and I noticed some spider mites or thrips. I can't tell which one. She said, okay, I'll let the owner know and I'll have him call you back. I said, okay, sounds great, thank you very much. She hung up. He calls me back about an hour later after I had already talked to her, which is, number one, already unprofessional. Somebody has told you that you have spider mites or thrips, one or the other, in your store, and you blow it off for a whole hour. I understand if you have customers, but you have 3 or 4 other people working in your store. Somebody else can handle them customers. You can find out what's going on with your plants. Because this isn't only putting my stuff at stake, this is putting yours at stake too. So instead of doing what he should have done and contacting me right off the bat to try to find out what was going on, he calls me an hour later. Okay, I tell him what's going on. He's like, okay, you must have some really, really good eyes if you can see them. I'm like, okay, maybe he's just blind. Maybe he's really blind because I need glasses. I'm not going to lie to you. I am somebody who needs glasses. I wear glasses, haven't had my prescription in a couple years. I am farsighted too, by the way. I see better far away. So nearsighted is even, it doesn't make any sense to me why he said this. He says all of this to me at first on the phone, and he's like, okay, if you have it, and you think you have them, we can give you a refund. Which isn't what I was going for. I didn't want a refund. So I explained to him, I don't want a refund. I wanted to know if maybe you had some poison so I can treat my plant. He said, yeah, come on in and we'll give you some poison. I said, okay, amazing. I like the way this guy is working. He sounds like he's reasonable. I come in the next day. And he gives me the poison, he does, which I'm not going to knock him for that. He did give me the poison. Whether he believed me or not, he gave me the poison. So, I get up there, and he comes up to me after about 10 more minutes. Okay, so this is a whole nother day after I've already told him that he's got this going on in his store. And this is a whole nother day later. All these plants are still sitting here. As he's doing some customers and doing his thing for a minute, I'm walking around inspecting these plants. Every single plant I touched had bugs on them. And they were huge plants and small plants. And they were all so compact next to each other that they were all infected. And I don't care what he says. They were all infected. Every single one of them. And he tells me, this is what he tells me. He says, if you can see these mites or these thrips or whatever you think they are, you must be Superman because you can't see these bugs. This is what he tells me. He says you cannot see them with the naked eye. You have to have a jewel, is what he calls it, a little magnifying glass, basically. And I tell him that's not true. If you're blind, you need a magnifying glass. If you just can't see, yeah, you'll need a magnifying glass. And these guys are super, super small. And to somebody who can see, they look like little dots that are moving around. But so he proceeds to tell me, if you can see these, you're Superman. I laugh that off and I ignore it. So he's already insulted me once, insulted my intelligence once, because he thinks I'm stupid and I don't know what I'm talking about. Then he proceeds to tell me, I've been in this game for 47 years, 57 years, something like that. I don't remember exactly what he said. This man doesn't look no older than 42. He looks old enough to be my father. My father is 50, maybe 50. This guy ain't no 60 years old, and he's trying to tell me that he's been in the game long enough to be as old as he is. He's trying to say he was in diapers growing, basically. So he's already lied to me and insulted my intelligence. Okay, in this small 15-second conversation that we've had. Okay, and then he's like, did you bring a leaf to show me the thrips. So now he wants me to show them to him, even though he's telling me that he can't see them with the naked eye. I'm like, no, I didn't bring a leaf, but I can show you on your own plants right here because they're here in the store as well. He's like, okay. So I look over, I look at the plant for a second, I find a decent leaf that is okay to pluck without hurting the plant. And I pull it, and he automatically gets hostile. He's like, hey, don't be pulling leaves off my plant. And I'm like, I have to pull the leaf off to show you. I apologize. I should have asked you first, my bad. But I pulled the leaf to show you the mite. And I turned the leaf over, and I pointed out 2 mites that were already right there, right off the bat. 2 little dots that were moving around. And he takes the leaf, and he looks at it for a second, and then he looks at a little crack in the leaf where it's burnt up and cracked. And he looks at it and he's like, this ain't a mite. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those little black dots that are moving around. And he looks at it for a second and he's like, I don't see what you're talking about. So obviously he's blind and he can't see them. So he doesn't know what I'm talking about and he thinks I'm lying to him. Okay, so he's already insulted my intelligence, lied to me more than once. Because he's told me that you can't see him with the naked eye. He's told me that that he's been in the growing game for longer than he's been alive, and that I don't know what I'm talking about. But I've been growing, so let me explain this to you guys. I've been growing for 4.5 years at least, easy, straight. Not a little bit here, not a little bit there, straight growing, okay? And I've come across spider mites, thrips, fungus gnats. I haven't come across any root shit yet, luckily. I've not any root problems. I've had some nutrient issues. I've come across nutrient issues. Everybody does. So when this guy told me that I didn't know what I was talking about, basically, and said that he didn't tell me that I was stupid, but he pretty much said it with the way his demeanor was, because he got hostile multiple times while I was talking to him in his store about it. He didn't like that I was bringing it up. He acted like his growers were the best growers in the world. Okay, and here's the thing. The growers that he goes through is his own company. That's why he's doing it. He's boosting his own company, and he don't want nobody throwing shade on him. Well, here's the deal. If you would have handled it professionally, my guy, you wouldn't have nobody throwing shade on your company. Here's the thing. When I walked into that store, he should have walked up to me and said, you see them? Okay. I appreciate that he gave me the poison. I'm not going to knock him for that because he did give me the poison. When I walked out, he went to the back, and he was like, hold on a second. He went to the back, went and got me a little bottle of poison and brought it to me. Okay. He did do the right thing and do that because he could have just been like, fuck you, and gave me my refund. Now, here's something that I was going to explain to you and everybody else that watches this video. If you have 5 plants in your grow already and you're a home grower like me, you're growing for yourself, and you have 5 plants in your tent and you want to get that 6th one to make it finished, you got your full grow, 6 plants, because you're allowed to have 6 in flowers, 6 in veg. So say you get your 6th plant from this dispensary, and you bring spider mites or thrips home and you don't notice it until it's too late, and every single one of your plants get infected, and you don't have the money to get the poison. He's done destroyed your whole crop, and he's trying to give you the money back for the one plant that he gave you. How does that seem right to you or anybody else? It doesn't. It's not right. And then he wants to argue with you and tell you that you're wrong and he's right because he's been in the game longer than you. He knows what he's talking about, and you don't know what you're talking about because you're 27 and he's 42. And then he wants to try to lie to you because you're younger than him. He thinks you're ignorant.